Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at the last of the Necromancer wands, and this is the Necromancer wand that kind of looks like a turd or a... I'm not even going to say what else it looks like. Uh, it is the Blackhand key. The Blackhand key actually does have a very interesting appearance, despite the fact that it looks like garbage on the item, or sorry, the inventory screen. Let me bring this up so that I can actually show you, because the Blackhand key is one of those odd objects that, while it doesn't quite relay its amazingness correctly, it does have a very interesting appearance. And as you can see, it almost reminds me of a, I want to say a Grim Wand, but instead of obviously a white skull, it is a black skull. And then on top of that, it seems to have the curled sort of handle of the U wand, where it's like made out of like a root, like a branch or something like that. And it definitely has a very unique, a very amazing looking appearance. Obviously, you know, after its own name, the Blackhand key. It's not actually a key, unfortunately. That would be cool though if it was. I think that would be like a really interesting thing to add to this particular item if they ever wanted to just touch up a couple of these items and make them more in line with their fantasy. This is actually called the Blackhand key. So why not make it so that whoever is wielding this item no longer needs keys to open up chests? Wouldn't that be a really cool and really simple way that you could effectively make this like an awesome item that people might actually consider using just for the ability to have, you know, these free chest openings, essentially. Never need a key again, right? You're using the Blackhand key, you never need a key again. Now, this particular wand does have some interesting effects, and it is a grave wand. It is 13 to 29 damage, which unfortunately, again, as most of these wands have no enhanced damage, we cannot really use them for whacking things, although you could if you want to. We also have +1 curses on this. Oh, hold on. Let me go back. It's 25 strength requirement, which of course is mediocre and doesn't really even require much. Most characters will be able to utilize this wand with ease. And it's level 41, which does make it into the nightmare territory. So this is a nightmare level wand. It has +1 curses on it, which is static. And unfortunately, curses is probably the least loved tree in the Necromancer arsenal as far as plus to skills goes. And let me explain myself. Most of these skills, if not all of them, are 1-point wonders. There are very few exceptions to this rule, and dim vision may be one of them, as well as weaken, which now has a bonus of plus to skills. And most of these, like life tap, 1-point wonder. Decrepify, 1-point wonder. Lower resist can be argued either way, depending on how many plus to skills you have, but you definitely do need it at a certain level for it to be useful. So 1 point in lower resistance with no plus to skills would be useless. But however, if you have tons of plus to skills, 1 point in lower resistance can be all you need. A lot of these abilities are 1-point wonders, and you really just don't need plus to skills with these, because usually your regular plus to skills is more than enough. And even then, some of them don't even need plus to skills at all to be useful. Like, for instance, Amplify damage can be useful even at level 1, because the damage taken does not increase or decrease with the skill. So we are left with kind of like a meh on the +1 curses. We also have +2 Necromancer skills, though, which means this does give a total of +3 to curses, which is certainly not terrible, and could definitely help in alleviating a little bit of the curse spam that usually goes on at lower levels, like, for instance, spamming Amplify damage on everything. It does have 30% faster cast rate on it, which is amazing. 30% faster cast is definitely going to be useful for a lot of necromancers that are casting spells in rapid succession. It can be helpful for Corpse Explosion Necromancer, but I never really found it necessary. The Necromancer that really gets the most benefit out of faster cast, in my opinion, is definitely the Bone Spear Necromancer. Bone Spear and Bone Spirit Necromancers are definitely the caster types. We also have 50 to life on this, which is certainly very nice to have. An additional bonus to life is never something you're going to shirk your head at. You're going to be like, oh, it's got 50 life on it? Who wants that? Ew. No, you don't do that. You're like, yes, 50 extra life. We also have 37% fire resistance on here, which I don't really know why it has 37% fire resistance. It's just kind of like an odd little number. And then we have 20% damage taken goes to mana, which is not bad to have on a wand, but not really that great either. Specifically because you don't really want to get hit on a Necromancer. I mean, if you were in a situation where you did get beat down, I mean, I could see it being moderately useful in that situation, but generally you're trying to avoid that. So, kind of a non-stat there, in my opinion. We also have a -2 light radius, because, of course, to go along with the theme that it is a Blackhand key. And then we also have a very interesting effect here of level 13 Grimward. Now, until recently, Grimward was the redheaded stepchild of the family, and nobody ever really wanted to use Grimward, especially not the Barbarian, who was the one who owned the skill. However, Grimward has come into a new light recently with changes to the way that the skill works by adding a massive amount of reduction in physical resistance. Now, unfortunately, the Necromancer does not have access to the passives that would be required to utilize the Grimward. Now, at level 1, Grimward, I think, has like 10% physical damage reduction, so not exactly that great. How could this be useful for a Necromancer specifically? Well, the answer to that question is that you could utilize it for basically what I would like to call a safe haven. So, like, let's say you were fighting a bunch of monsters and, you wanted specifically a safe haven place to stand so that you didn't have to worry about being attacked by monsters. You could place the Grimward and just simply stand on top of it. And at that point, the only monsters that would be able to come near you would be the monsters specifically, elites and bosses and things like that. And it actually is very interesting because it does last quite a long time, especially at level 13. But the interesting thing to me is that this wand could be very useful for a barbarian. Say, for instance, you were a find item barbarian, and you wanted to utilize your find item to, obviously find items. And maybe you went to the process of beefing up your find item to its maximum level so that you could obviously grab the maximum find item chance. So, for instance, Find Potion gives Find Item a 1% bonus per level. So you'd beef up Find Potion to get your Find Item to max. Find Potion is the skill that beefs up Grimward, and you could get the 120% extra damage this way. Well, the interesting thing is what if you didn't specifically want to put any points into Grimward? Maybe you just didn't even want to put 1 point into Grimward. Well, here's an interesting option for you, is you could potentially use the Blackhand key, which has level 13 Grimward, to cast the fully synergized Grimward for you. In effect, not having to put any points into Grimward whatsoever, so you're not wasting any points. You would just have the Blackhand key on a swap, cast your Grimward, and then move on with your day. Grimward doesn't care what level it is. Just to show you guys, if you have 1 point in Grimward, it has the same damage taken. So if I cap out Find Potion, it has the same damage taken at level 6 as it does at level 13, as it does at level 25, and so forth and so on. And if I were to beef this up really quickly to level 13, you would get an idea of what kind of effect this is going to have. So at level 13, fully synergized, the Grimward has a 120% enemy damage taken. It has a duration of 40 seconds. It is a 12-yard radius, and all monsters within that radius are slowed by 56%. So this could potentially be a very interesting use for the Blackhand key as a swap to on a barbarian just for casting Grimwards. It's not like the most amazing thing in the world, but free Grimwards are certainly nothing to shake a stick at if you already have the synergies built for Grimward. Plus, you look cool holding a freaking, I don't even know, the Blackhand key just looks awesome. It definitely has a very pretty graphic. If they ever do add a transmog system into the game where you can rip the graphics off of one item and put them onto another using a Herodric Cube recipe, as I outlined in my 8 features that Diablo 2 Resurrected needs, the Blackhand key might very well be one of those items that I rip the graphic off of for fun. Now, of course, you can also find this in its ethereal form, and unfortunately, in the ethereal form, you would not be able to take advantage of the charges. So remember that when you have an ethereal item, you cannot repair the charges. You could use them. You still get the 30 charges if you want to use them, but you would not actually be able to get any real benefit out of them, unfortunately, because once they run out, you wouldn't be able to repair them again. So if you did want to actually use the Grimoire charges, you're going to need the non-ethereal version. And there's no variables on this. Nothing varies. So when you find a Blackhand key, it's perfect. It's always perfect. Let's go and take a look over at Silo's Pen real quick, and let's get an idea of where you could potentially find this if you wanted to get your hands on it. And yeah. Sound effects, boys. Sound effects. Uh-oh. Looks like Cody knocked my green screen. You can see the corner of my green screen right there. He's always knocking my green screen. He can't like help himself. He just like plops down and the whole green screen just like flies through the air. I don't even know what to say. Look, it messed up the bottom corner too, you little troll. Cody is my dog. He's rotten. He's a rotten little crap too. All right, so Blackhand Key is a level 41 item, so we're going to assume Nightmare difficulty because that's where this thing is going to be used. And it does look like, I want to say Nightmare Diablo? No, it looks like Nightmare Mephisto has a decent chance too. 1 in 3,039. Level 41 is going to be the beginning. It's going to be like Act 1. And it's sad that a lot of these nightmare level items have poor itemization. And what I mean by that is that their level requirement is, say, level 41, but you generally won't see them drop until much later, which I don't even know why you would give an item such a low level requirement if you're going to make it only really drop from higher level monsters, which are nowhere near the level required for the item. Neolithak and Nightmare. I mean, a lot of these are just awful for a level 41 character. I mean, and the drop chance is awful as well. I'm just going to go ahead and call it here. We are definitely looking at Nightmare Mephisto. I would say Nightmare Mephisto is your best bet if you wanted to get your hands on a Blackhand key. Nightmare Diablo is a better option, but at level 41, you're going to have a much easier time farming Nightmare Mephisto than Nightmare Diablo. And maybe later on, as you level up your character and you get stronger, you could, farm Nightmare Diablo. But Nightmare Mephisto is by far the easier option because you can moat him. You can moat trick him. You can kill him with blizzards. You can do all sorts of things. You can kill him with an Amazon, with a guided arrow. And on a Necromancer, you can literally just like bring your army over there. Let him fight him. Walk away. You don't even have to fight Mephisto as a Necromancer. You just go in there and let your army do the work. So, Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Sometimes when you look at these drop chance calculations and you're like, yeah, those are terrible options. How about no? Yeah. Alright, guys and gals, as always, I do appreciate you watching my videos, even when we're talking about the darkest of dark objects as the Blackhand key, and even if the key doesn't open any chests. As always, I do appreciate you watching, and keep watching.